What's up, everyone? What's up, Michael? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Gabe. Good to see you, man. Happy Saturday to you and to all the people joining in on the Saturday evening. Good to see you.
Abs-
And it's
Absolutely. And this is not a virtual background. I'm actually in my Star Wars room right now. So, just
and,
get
and
that.
this
Make
and
sure
this
everyone
is
knows that.
this isn't a virtual background. I'm not in Jabba's palace right now.
Yeah, it's backwards. Yeah. What's up, guys? Oh, hold on. I got, I got.
Whoa, that was
I needed
crazy.
a light. I needed a light in my Star Wars room. So, you know.
Hey,
uh,
but before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to all the veterans out there and say
yeah,
Happy Veterans Day. This is a day to we're able to do what we do because of the people who sacrificed and the people that continue to sacrifice. And I just want to do that shout out and let them know that we love you and very much appreciative of what it is that you guys do every day for us. So
absolutely. Yeah. No,
okay.
absolutely. Well, very cool. So, Michael, you're at the restaurant today?
Well, yep. Yeah, I wanted to. I obviously got a lot of little detail things going on, and I thought it'd be cool to kind of, since I was here, to hang out and do the show here. And
Yeah.
since it's always great having Tom on and talking, especially I love talking about maquettes
Yeah.
and trying to get a real feel of what he's coming out with next. You know what I mean? But
We'll twist his arm. We're gonna twist his arm and find out what's next.
and this is a
Um,
pretty exciting maquette that he's getting ready
yeah,
to is
yeah.
releasing,
No,
and
absolutely.
I thought
Um,
it's absolutely imperative that I show this badass piece that we've been working on at the restaurant, and this is 6 scale, and
yeah,
Jens has been working his ass off, and uh,
yeah.
yeah, man,
Well,
it's been a blast. So
and you're gonna do a whole section in the restaurant for the Regal Robot maquettes, right?
yeah, we'll show that later in the show. That's
Okay,
another
cool.
reason I wanted to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's say hi to some of our viewers before we introduce our guest really quick.
Yes, good.
Got Solo Fett in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Joel, how you doing? Steven and Carla, what's up, Steven? How you doing? Sean, what's up, Sean? Funny enough, I was gonna not that you guys photoshopped your logo on Tom's shirt for your cover. Um, but I was gonna do that, but decided to go a different route. But that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah,
Jens, what's up, Jens? Oh yeah, Jens sent me something very cool that we'll share today regarding our guest Tom and
yep,
a really cool thing that they did for a magazine.
yep.
Kelvin, what's up, Kelvin? How you doing? Scott, what's up, Scott? How are you?
Good to see you guys.
Armando, what's up? How you doing, man? McFry, what's up, man? Jose, Christopher. Every time I see your name, I'm like Christopher Lloyd. No. Johnny, what's up, Johnny? How you doing, man?
Good to see you, John.
Eric, what's up, Eric? Hey, I'm in your neck of the woods right now, so I might be driving down the 101, so I'll probably pass through San Jose. Hey, Janine, what's up, Janine? How you doing?
Hey, Janine.
Pete, what up, Pete? How you doing?
I'll take my money.
Pete, I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he always reaches out. He's like, "So did you get this next one?" I'm like,
Oh,
"I
oh,
did."
oh, yeah.
Uh,
Jack, what's up, man? Flex, what's up, Flex? How you doing, brother?
for joining us, Flex. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah. Carlos, what's up, my Carlos? How you doing? Well, cool, very cool. So thank you for everybody for joining us on our Saturday. Oh, we got Robbie too in the house. What's up, man?
Hey, good to see you, Robbie.
Um, yeah, I'm excited to talk to Tom. Obviously, for some of you that you've seen, I put out a couple videos out there regarding the next Regal Robot release, and
Mhm.
I mean that thing is just, oh, I love it, man. Um, so I think we should let's bring on Tom. There you go.
Hey guys,
What's up, Tom? How you doing, man?
how's everybody doing tonight?
Hey, buddy. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. I
Yeah.
love the backdrops. Gabe, you are 100% actually in your room.
I'm like,
Pardon me.
yeah, the weird like flickering. Don't worry about that part.
That's no, that's lighting
Yeah.
effects. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And and Michael, clearly you've fallen into a pit of some kind.
it's really cool. Well, hey, it's justifiable with
I
what's
hear the
going.
pizza's good at least, so
Oh,
you know
I'll tell you what, we're getting there. We're getting close for damn sure. But
that's
I know,
great, man.
right?
No, I love seeing the sneak peeks of how all that's going, man. That's just amazing what you're building there.
I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you so much. And a big congrats before we get into all this on these maquettes, man. What a great job you're doing.
Oh,
And
thank you,
man,
thank you.
it's really, really cool. I think this is something that all of, I know we have a lot of people that are in the chat that absolutely are sponsors of Regal Robot.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's just a really, really neat thing that you're able to knock
Yeah.
this out. So,
Thank you.
And I think that's kind of where I wanted to start, because since we have you on, we pick your brain and stuff, and kind of
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted to know a little bit more about kind of that part of the history of Regal Robot, right? Because we've had
yeah.
you on with previous releases, but
Yep,
usually they're the bigger releases.
yep,
This is kind of the first time we've had you on since kind of the explosion of maquettes and that
yeah.
line. I would love to know kind of how that came about. Like, how is that process? Like, was it something you guys always thought about doing, or is it something that just came about from going to the archives?
I mean, it's funny because um, it's an unusual line. Like, oh, these are the kind of weird looking versions of the creatures everybody knows. It's like it's not the sort of thing that's going to turn up in Target or Walmart. You know, you're not going to have like even a sideshow or somebody doing this kind of stuff. Um, but it's something that always uh, drew me in, and Rob and I used to talk about them all the time. And and this is even before Rob was working with us, regularly. Like for years, Rob had always done stuff with us, where he was full time marketing with another company, and then he would come and help us out on jobs here and there. We were old friends from prop collecting days, back like RPF and
Mhm.
AOL Instant Messenger and all of that stuff.
wow.
And um, and he was local, so like whenever there was a prop party or something, we would carpool, or we'd go to each other's houses and show each other our collections of replica stuff we had gotten. um and we always used to talk about this stuff. We always talked about the old documentaries. We always talked about the maquettes, how cool they were. We talked, like Jabba 2 snail like, and how ridiculous that horrible thing is, and Jabba 2 human, and how he's just all weird in the chair and flabby and stuff. And so, but we never thought like, oh, they're never going to let us do this, let alone like we'd be able to do this. Um, and then, what Regal started technically with a decor license with Lucasfilm and Disney. Um, it was really after doing that for 3 years or so where our rep at Lucasfilm said like, but what do you really want to do? Which was great that he did that. And I kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit because I didn't want to like be presumptuous or whatever. And I knew other people had licenses for things like that. And he was just like, I feel like you want to make monster busts and statues and stuff. And I was like, well, I want to do it, but I want to do prop replica versions of this stuff. Like, I don't want to make, just a bust of some character. Like, I want to make a bust of the prop. I want this to feel like the real thing. And when it came to, statues, I have no interest in making, a random expanded universe or like, what Luke Skywalker in his outfit or whatever. Like, no, I like, if I'm going to do a Luke Skywalker, it would be the stop motion puppet that was on the skiff that they did that one stop motion shot with, or it would be like the puppet that's on the speeder bike. Like, that's the stuff that draws us in.
Yeah.
And so it coupled with a few things. First up was doing work over at Phil Tippett's studio, restoring some stuff from Dragon Slayer, and seeing the Tauntaun maquette that he had, that first gray one that we did.
Yeah.
And Michael, I know you know it well because you got it painted up and had a rider put on him, which looks awesome, by the way.
I appreciate that, buddy.
But knowing, seeing that, and then talking to Phil and telling him how much like that was one of my favorite sculptures. I had always seen it in the Chronicles and other books and just been really, really impressed. And in particular, the first take on that is it's very slightly different from the final, but there's something about it that I really, really like. And Phil, I gruffly gives I got the effing mold somewhere, blah 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 blah, and walks out of the room, and I'm just like, jaw on the floor, like, you have the mold. And so getting access to that mold, like, that opened the door to the idea of starting to do these things with Lineage, and that to me was like, oh, that's something like we can work with, and then working with our connection with the archives and starting to go there with more intent in terms of, really specific research trips and certain products, and then getting to see all of the maquettes. And like, I had been a bunch of times at that point, and I've always loved those. There's like 2 long shelves full of these things. I always loved that area. I would always stop and look at it. But to study those shelves for days at a time, all of a sudden, like, Rob and I were just like, we have to, like, we've got to find a way to do the rest of these. And so, yeah, like, the Tauntaun kicked it off. The love for them was totally there from the beginning. The question was, like, was anybody going to come along for the ride? Like, are we going to be able to sell enough that it makes it worthwhile? And, the edition sizes on these are tiny. They're like 100 or 150 pieces on most of them. Some of them not even that. Some are maybe a little bigger, but like, even still, where do you go in licensed Star Wars for something that's under 500 pieces, under 5,000 pieces most of the time? No. And so it was like, okay, can we develop these in a way where we don't have to invest a ton of money in the upfront so that we can do a small edition and still make it work? And it was just like a balancing act. Like, okay, how high does it have to be priced to keep it, to do this many and still be able to do it? Because I would rather, if it's up to us, we want to do every one of them. Like, even the weirdos that never made the movie, like, every single thing on that shelf, I would love to have a copy of on my shelves. And I feel like there's enough people out there that want them as well, that we could totally get the, even if we stick to these like 100-piece runs, we're kind of thinking, like, with the Rancor coming up, that's one that maybe needs a bigger edition. So we've got the 2 split editions on that to get a little more out there into people's collections. We don't want to shortchange people, but and maybe over time more people will join in to what we're doing, and get that feeling. Like, the whole thing for me is like, these aren't statues. Like, these are history. These are they're like, they're digitally laser scanned off the originals. They're accurate to within, fractions of a millimeter in terms of the sculpts. We're hand painting them as faithfully as we can to the way the originals were done. But like, even just what they are, they're not just representations of the character random. They're not something we dreamed up. These are recreations of artifacts that helped make the movie. And to me, that's what makes them really special.
No, what I wanted to say real quick, Tom, is it's so cool, obviously, because you're a collector. You like Star Wars. You love Star Wars.
Love it.
Yeah, getting into these maquettes and being able to do that must be so exciting, and figuring out which one that you want to pick next. Yeah. But what is it like? Because obviously you've done a few that, and working with Phil, but what's it like bringing out these artists that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and they're probably like, what is going on here? Oh, wow. Oh yeah. I think I did do that. And what's it like talking to those people? And then I bet it's such an honor to them that would never, Tom, be heard of, to be honest with you, except for the people that did get to work with them. So I think that number one is a really kick-ass thing that you do for them. But what's it like working with those artists like that?
To coin a phrase, it's amazing. It's kick-ass. But yeah, no, it is. It's like, it's everything I ever wanted to get out of Star Wars as a kid. Like, I would see these people in the shows, and I'm like, I want to meet them. You know, it's like I like everybody's, oh, I want to meet Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford or even George Lucas. And I'm like, who's the girl going, make way, pig in transit, carrying a bunch of pig guard heads and stuff like that? Like
Yeah.
that's what I want to talk to. What was that like? What was that experience like? So,
Yeah.
you know, and I think if anybody wants a real sense of what that part of this is like and what that means to me, go to both the Regal Robot YouTube and the Tom Spina Designs YouTube. And there's a section on each for my interviews with all of these people. Anybody that we've done one of the editions with, I've tried to get them to sit down and do a Zoom chat or something. And I hope it comes through really quickly in those how sincere my appreciation for what they did is. I feel like I have a great relationship with all of them. They have been extremely patient with my questions because
It's a long time ago, right? I mean, they have to
yeah,
kind of.
yeah. I mean, sometimes I kind of feel like Chris Farley, like it's like, you remember when you worked on Return of the Jedi? That was cool, you know. Like I have to fight that urge,
Yeah.
but like, you know, I've done effects, I've done creatures, I've done masks, I've done costumes, you know, all of this stuff, and so like I do speak their language, and I've restored a lot of stuff that these people have worked on too, which really, you know, that's a thing that's a really unusual kind of thing. It's almost like you're, you know, you feel like the surgeon that worked on someone's child, you know, you're like, oh, I hope you like the way I stitched him up and that, you know, that you're happy that I fixed him and not like, what have you done to my boy? You know?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you know, the whole process of exploring these things, when
Yeah.
we first started, there was a panning shot in from Star Wars to Jedi, the making of a saga with that great music showing, you know, 90 of
Oh,
these
man,
things
I'll
or
never
whatever.
forget it.
Hold on.
There
Here we
was,
go.
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, you know, photos in magazines and books and things like that showing a bunch of them.
Stop, go back just a little bit.
Great Polaroids. Yeah. It's so funny seeing that shot and now being able to be like, oh yeah, there's the Jabba, we did that. There's Max Rebo, we did that. There's one of the
Okay,
Tauntauns.
pause it right now. Okay, pause it.
I can't pause it. I don't know how to pause
Okay,
it.
everybody, look at the see the Ewok.
Yeah. I do like that. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yak face. I mean,
Yeah.
it's weird. Like we're starting to check them off.
Yeah.
But
that's
you know,
awesome.
originally that's an anonymous kind of video, right?
Yeah.
Like you look at it and you just go like, oh, okay, they made these.
Yeah.
And maybe you knew Phil Tippett did the Jabba ones, but that was it.
Yeah.
And so we started with very little and
Mhm.
then just started talking to these people and just asked every single one of them. We sent them whatever pictures we had and usually just like one shot of each and just started checking them off when we could. And then, you know, as we got down to, you know, like more and more of them being identified who did the work on them, then we sort of said like, okay, let's take better pictures of some of these the next time we're at the archives and send those around and see what they think. And we're down to now, it's funny, I was on Talking Bay 94 with Brandon, who's really, really great interviewer. He does a lot of like history of Star Wars type interviews with people who worked on it. I was always honored to be on his show, and he's a fun guy to chat with. And on it, I said we had 8 left. I actually went and checked. We're down to 3 Return of the Jedi maquettes that we don't know who sculpted. It's insane. Like
and that's a lot of maquettes.
yeah.
I mean,
And I mean, there's people who worked on them that even have passed away. So like, you know, the ones that are left, maybe they were those guys. We don't know, but like we've even identified ones that are in the background of some old pictures that aren't even in the archives anymore. We were able to, you know, talk to people and see one of them. Even it's so funny. I found a great picture in the Lucasfilm Image Archives, and it was 2 shelves, bunch of maquettes on it, bunch of concept stuff. And I look and I'm like, there's like 2 or 3 that I didn't recognize at all. I'm like, those aren't in the archives; those are gone. And one of them, Dave Carson identified as one he did that George wanted and kept for himself for in his office for years. And one of them, Chris Wayless identified, and the other one, we zoomed in and we could make out a little DH on the base, which stood for Dan Howard, who has since passed away. But like, oh, okay, there we go. We got an idea on the third one. But I mean, it's like forensic the way
Yeah.
we're approaching this stuff.
That's cool. That's
No,
cool.
and I love you know which interview for me was kind of the most genuine, like I just seen her almost like amazement. It was with Judy Elkins, right? Like I
Oh,
think
yeah,
she's the one who was very like, oh, like I didn't even know like
right,
people cared about Yak Face. Like
Yeah.
she's
right.
like
A
very
lot of
like
people that way.
whatever about it, right?
Yeah,
And
she's
it's such a
amazing.
and it's
I
such a like again, it is stuff that they haven't thought about for since
Yeah.
1981, 1982, right? I mean,
And like, no offense to anyone, but like she's not a household name. She doesn't expect to be. But when we asked her to do the signings, like she was genuinely, like you could see she was touched. She was kind of like,
yeah,
wow, people want that. Okay,
yeah,
Um, and I love that. Like I love that Jeannie Lawrence, another one that we had her sign for Droopy because she worked on the costume version
yeah.
of it. And, you know, she's someone we've all seen in those videos. We've seen pictures of her and things like that with her headband and her headphones and
Mhm.
whatever else. Um, and there's actually a great video that someone just recently turned up on YouTube that's like some behind the scenes of Phil sculpting the puppet scale Rancor. And then there's some shots where you see George Lucas and the Rancor maquette in the background. And then there's some shots of like I think it's Judy working on hollowing out a Nine Numb or an Elam mask, and Jeannie putting skin on a Manaman, the life-sized Manaman.
Mm.
Um, and it's just like now it's like, oh, like I know them now. Like I've talked to them. That's cool. Like you look at them differently when you see that stuff. And I
Yeah,
hope that people who like now have gotten the maquettes, like someone who picked up Yak Face, I hope they all took the time and watched that video with her and
Yeah.
got to know Judy a little bit and got to hear her stories and how she started. And then now when they watch these videos and they see, there's a great shot of her like sculpting, I think Squidhead's hands or something like that. And from Star Wars to Jedi, they can go like, oh, like I've got her autograph now. That's awesome.
and
Yeah.
again, that's another reason. Like, so I recently just did a video trying to explain like the importance of it, right? It's like, look, there's history behind it. They're probably more important than some of the other props that we've seen. But I think that even what you just touched on, it's like, you know, you're trying to give the fans like kind of more bang for their buck, right? Like I get it. Like oh hey, signature edition. Like obviously we're gonna talk about the Rancor. There's a legacy edition with Phil Tippett doing a hands, drawing,
Yeah.
and all that. But I think we tend to kind of forget that additional free, like you're creating like an additional value to the people that are buying this makeup by doing these videos because again like you said you get to experience like the person who sculpted or worked on it and that's exactly what I do now and the only one that I could kind of almost really put myself in is because now I know Kirk Thatcher. So
Oh,
now
yeah.
every
Yeah.
time I watch the background videos, I'm looking for Kirk, and I'm like, that's the one that I know that I'm looking for. But I
Yeah.
think you're right. Like it brings these like movies that we used to watch, like Star Wars to Jedi and all the these
Classic
documentaries.
creatures and yeah, all of that stuff.
It kind of gives it a new meaning and a new life to them. So again, I think we should be more appreciative of kind of that you're bringing to the to the
Well,
fandom.
thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's well, Phil said something. So we did an interview. It was a video interview, but they did it as a written thing for StarWars.com. Came out last week. It was me and Phil Tippett. And Phil said something like, when he was doing the maquettes and stuff, he was just doing it to amuse himself. And, and I think his response was something like, because Kristen Baver, who did the interview, was like, is that often what you do? He's like, that's all I ever do. And like, I feel like that's the way it is kind of with these videos and stuff too. Like, it's the sort of thing that if this wasn't my job, I would be pursuing. It's the
Yeah.
sort of thing that, if I wasn't making this stuff, I would still be looking at for these people and reaching out to them and talking to them and maybe more with an eye for like, oh, this could be a celebration panel the next time they have me as a guest or something, or I could do a convention panel with some of these folks or something. Or maybe it goes into some book project in the future or who knows what. but to be able to, tie that into the work we're doing recreating this stuff, and to give that extra dimension to the pieces themselves, like that. Yeah, I mean, like I feel very, very lucky to be able to do that.
No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, I think that's why I think we want to focus a little bit more on that line, right? Because again, I think this is something that's not going to stop, right? I mean,
No.
you said you're
Well,
you're going to expand the
the other
line.
good thing is this, like, it's not a crazy high priced line either, right? Like, you look at things like the Salacious Crumb replica, the Hollow Chest set, the Tuscan Raider, even going back, well, also like our Chewbacca bus and our Tauntaun bus. By the way, if anybody's been looking at the 1-to-1 Tauntauns, they're just last week we finished up our most recent run of production on 4 of those. 3 of them are spoken for. So we're going to have one Tauntaun that's like ready to ship if anybody wants to get one and bring it home for the holidays and put a Santa hat on them. But,
Was like,
the maquettes, most of them are in this like $300 to $400 kind of range, maybe 3 to 5 for the most part, obviously with some outliers. But it's a line where we can, we do the production in house. We can make them relatively efficiently in the studio. We have great painters. We have, that side of it is figured out. And so we can do them regularly. And I don't feel like we're overloading people. If we were to do, a maquette every 2 or 3 months versus, I would never forget CZ3 Big Cat. He's my favorite robot. But we can do those more regularly than a gaffy stick replica, which, you probably notice we put some time in between when the gaffy stick came out and when the Tuscan Raider bus came out and when Salacious Crumb came out. That's on purpose. We don't want to be putting out, $15,000 worth of merchandise in the span of 6 months. Nobody would have anything left and they couldn't buy our stuff.
Yeah.
So, we're very mindful of that. I think an important thing for folks to know, thinking about the Rancor 4 Tuesday, which seems really, really close all of a sudden, is that the previous one was $299, which was the lowest priced maquette we had done. And then our next replica in that series comes out in January. That's also going to probably be $299. We always, to be determined, but that's where we're aiming. And that's intentional. It's like, okay, we have 2 that we think are going to be the lowest price ones we can do. Let's put those on either side of the one that's going to be more complicated and cost a little more. We're very mindful of that sort of thing and what we're putting out there so that we're not overloading folks and that they can be a part of it, stay in the line and keep getting them. And then, next year we have a lot lined up. We have a lot of indie stuff. We have a lot of Star Wars stuff in the works, not just maquettes. There's some really, really cool, interesting, never been done before prop replica type stuff that we're working on. We also have a few busts in the works. I don't know exactly where they're going to fit in the timeline. And we have some, but yeah, there's some stuff both for indie and Star Wars that I think will definitely surprise people.
There you go,
Very
Tom.
old Disney animation. Oh man, it would be a separate license, and that would take some Disney consumer products negotiating and stuff like that. But maybe there's something to be said for that. I love that stuff. Honestly, some of my favorite ones are the ones done for the parks. Where you have like the maquettes of the pirates and things from Haunted Mansion and stuff like that. I think the last time I was at Disneyland, up front by Mr. Lincoln, they had a couple of like pirates maquettes and things like that really caught my eye. I took pictures of them. Like, I might have to show this to one of our reps someday. Like, those are cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I know at one point Gentle Giant had a license to do that, because I know they did the Mark Davis Snow White.
Oh, nice.
And it's literally just
you know what another one was? I think it was an elephant from Jungle Cruise or something like that. I think was one of them. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
yeah, but let's let Tom finish the Return of the Jedi line and maquette before we even start talking about Disney.
Yeah, we have a
Sorry,
lot to get through.
sorry about that, Tom.
He needs us to get to that Ewok, okay?
Thank you. And Amanaman. But yeah, that's it.
Oh man. A man is he's a big one.
Yeah.
I know we get a lot. We have a couple of.
How big is he, Tom?
He's oh gosh, he's definitely the tallest, kind of like by far. There's a
I think
few
he's got
that
a
are
little
like
square.
12-inch, kind of action figure size.
Yeah.
Like you have like Barada and not Klaatu, Nikto, and a couple of other miscellaneous. There's like a Rancor Keeper. Yeah, they call it a Rancor Keeper, it's just different design. But
Yeah.
and they're built on those like art figures that are like 10, 12-inch talls, the wooden dolls.
Yeah.
Effantman is pretty big. He's like 11, 12 inches tall too. But a Man is probably closer to like 16, 18 inches
Oh,
tall,
wow.
maybe. He's
'Cause he has
also
the
he's
staff.
definitely at least 14 or 15. And then he's got his staff is like another 4 or 5 inches, and then he's got the heads dangling off and spindly arms and spots all over him. He's complicated from a production point of view, but
Yeah. Kind of like the Ewok. But the good thing about the Ewok is, no, you did my life-size Chewie doing a little.
We
Ewok
know how to do fur, sure. Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's funny. I actually asked Phil this. I was like, because I know for myself personally, like I'm really glad we have digital to work with when it comes to the maquettes. Because personally, when I sculpt big stuff like Chewie's head. That was made from a clay pour of one of the skins, but then I sculpted in Peter's eyes and all of that stuff. But I've done, tons of Cantina aliens over the years for commercials and things like that. I've sculpted bronzes and all this other stuff, silicone, wax figures, whatever. But I love to sculpt big. I love to sculpt 1-to-1 or bigger. That's just where I'm comfortable. I can get into the weeds on the details. I love making skin textures and things, but I am not a small scale sculptor. Like I get it, and I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. And I wanted, like, I ask a lot of these guys, I'm like, where's your comfort zone? What do you like to do? Because some of them love to work small. Some of them just want to make stuff and they don't care. They're like, well, Phil's answer was along the lines of like, yeah, small is good for a sketch, but big is better to get into the nitty gritty and the details. But it is, they're two different types of sculpting. So I am very glad that we're able to do the digital work on the small ones, because it really lets you get in there and tighten stuff up. And you can do infinite levels of changes and refinements and make sure that you're really getting things right. The 3D scans are incredible. But there's always little things, there's little boogers on them and stuff you got to take off. And then we also have the issue where these things have existed for 40 years. Yeah. They have been moved around a bunch of times. We actually just found on one of the ones we were working on, we actually thought we were done with the digital on it. And I had printed a test cast that's on my shelves at work, but it gets covered up anytime we do a live Facebook thing. But all these prototypes, and I'm looking at it, and the last time we went to the archives, they actually had found a little piece of it that fell off and put it with it. And we were looking at that. And so we go back and we start looking at vintage photos, and we start trying to see, oh yeah, there it is. That, like, how did we not see that? So there's always something you discover on these, whether it's coloration that's changed over time, or things that have been, changed their pose a little bit. Maybe they've flexed, or maybe they've misshapen, or something broke off. Like, so we are always looking at, like, how far back do you turn the clock on something like this too? And digital is really good for that.
I was just going to ask you real quick, talking about the digital, when you do those scans, are they done in your studio, or do you do it at the archives?
That's always there. Because they don't. We did have the last time we had archive stuff at our shop was about 6 or 7 years ago now, where we had done a really big batch of restoration. It was a particularly large chunk at once, and that made more sense for them to send to us. But generally speaking, they like to try and keep everything on site as much as possible, tight control on it, and so yeah, that stuff, we go there. Those are amazing trips to be a part of. I think it's not like we're there all the time. Maybe it's a few times a year if we're lucky. We make the most out of our time there. I'm notoriously frugal when it comes to traveling. We are, you know, we're if I could help it, we'd be flying like, a luggage class with the chickens and stuff like that. But
When you were talking about the 40 years, plus years of these things sitting on the
yeah,
shelves, it was just kind of ironic. But about 2 months ago, Gabe, I'm building this studio scale gallery at the house, and I had found this really cool modeler working on one of the maquettes out of ET from ET, and just so happened Gabe just happened to be over there, and he shared a couple photos, and it was of the maquette. And I said, Gabe, holy crap, I didn't realize that was the maquette, but I have it's a big photo, really good photo. And the deal was, and I don't know if Gabe noticed, but the photo that I have in the sculpt of that maquette was fantastic. And when you can see the maquette now, 40 plus years later, sitting over at the art, it's terrible looking. It looks really, really bad.
Yeah.
So
and that's why companies like us exist, right? To do that conservation and do restoration on stuff. You never know what's going to come our way and what goes in front of us. And certainly, we feel lucky anytime something comes in. It's challenging work doing that restoration stuff. I would sculpt something 10 times over instead of restoring it. And I love restoring things. It's I'm really proud of the work we've done with that. But in the time it takes to bring something back, you could have made a replica of it like 5 times. It's just really, really slow, careful kind of work. But it's amazing when we get to do it. It's an honor.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, are you kidding? This is your show.
No, come on. So does George Lucas? I talked about this all the time with Gabe and some of the people. Does George Lucas own those maquettes still, or is it is it going to get moved over to his new place that's being built?
Basically everything in the archives stayed with George, right? So, Disney purchased the rights to the brand and the movies, but all of the archives, which is basically all of the props and costumes and everything that George had kept from the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the indie movies, Howard the Duck, Tucker, etc. Willow, there's some stuff too. That all stayed with George. And now that's all really considered part of the Lucas Museum and Narrative Art. It's the folks who manage everything, they're all under the sort of overarching umbrella of the museum, and they are very, very in a good way, museum minded. It's not like it was like 30 years ago, where it was more of like a working archive, where it was like, okay, we got this archive of stuff in case we need it. Even during the prequels, I'm sure it seems more like that. When they were doing the special editions, they were pulling stuff out to reuse. And then over the decades since then, and really for probably a good, it's got to be at least 15 or more years. It's been very much in the more museum-y archive mindset, cataloging things, restoring things, making condition reports, all of that stuff. And now it's moved into a step even above that with the museum protocols. And it's very, very cautious now, I think.
That's actually a great point, because as you guys are going in and scanning some of this stuff, in the future, it might get more difficult to get access, right? Just because as it starts shipping. So basically what we're saying is, go do it now, Tom.
I'll be right back. I gotta go.
You have to fund a couple trips.
You don't got to tell me twice.
And everything in there.
Let's bring it up to the newest edition of what we got going on.
So let me go first through your website.
Sure. Regalrobot.com for anyone watching.
There you go. Regal Robot.
If you ever want to see the restoration stuff, go to tomspinadesigns.com, by the way.
Do you have a lot of that stuff going on right now, Tom?
Oh yeah, always. There's we have a joke at the shop. There's always a gremlin. And it's like we
Jeez.
literally like they're like tagging in right now.
Yeah.
We have Christine is
With all those
crating up a
options.
gremlin that we just finished. And
Mm.
like as she's putting it in the crate, we get the email like, hey, I just shipped out the gremlin to you. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm in, next gremlin.
Well, actually, and after we talk about the Rain Corps and all the maquettes,
Yeah.
I actually, because we've been talking a lot recently on shows about, just some of these auctions and some of,
Oh yeah.
kind of going through, and obviously I think you're the perfect person to ask because you're in the middle of it. Like you're kind
Yeah.
of, so well, let's
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about this
No,
then.
that's our world for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So, all right. So Tuesday,
Yeah.
November 14th,
Hmm.
putting out 2 editions of the Rain Corps, right?
Yeah.
Got the
This
legacy.
has been a long time coming. This
Yeah.
was this is one that we probably I would have to look at. Let me see if I can give you a date of when we I don't know if I have when we started this. Let me see here. If you don't mind, I'll look
Look at some
too many
pictures.
subfolders. Um let's see here. I mean, I've yeah. Oh boy. I mean, yeah, this thing goes back literally years. um, it's something where we saw it it was one of the earliest ones we scanned because we really just felt this is one of the best ones there.
Mhm.
Um, we didn't know when we could get to it. We had to figure out how we were going to do it and keep it cost effective. Our initial price estimates, actually, when we were just starting this, were coming up almost the same price as our old, like full size replica. And we're like, okay, we're going to have to come back to this.
Yeah.
Um, but it's funny. One of the things that takes the longest on these is the paint.
Mm.
And, it's not that dramatically different in time to paint an 18-inch Rancor as it is the 9 or 10-inch Rancor. They all still have, 5 or 6, what is it? Eight claws, 6 toenails, a bunch of teeth, 2 eyeballs. It's a little less mass, but it's still got all the detail. And in fact, the paint
More.
on this guy is actually more detailed, I think, than the big guy. He
I
certainly
agree.
has more color on him.
Yeah.
And my cat has just come into the room. That's why I'm bending down. I have to smash him
Yeah.
a little bit. He's all right. Hi,
It's
buddy.
so
So
yeah, so
yes, Legacy Edition.
yeah.
What?
Two,
How
two
did this grab you guys? By the way, because we liked it, but we weren't sure how it was gonna how people were gonna react.
I'm on board on that one.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
really cool. It was a great video, by the way, Gabe. I didn't realize that. I don't know what the details. I'm sure Tom could tell us a little bit more, but how that everyone's going to have a different
Yeah.
background. So how does that come about?
So that came about. Honestly, it came about through us chatting with Phil. We had gone to Phil's house at one point on one of our last trips out over the summer, and we were talking to him about ideas for this. It was just starting. We knew that Rancor was going to be coming, and Rob and I wanted to come up with like what's like this is the best one. How do we do a better than edition as well so that we can have something really special? And Rob pitched the idea of some sort of sketch edition, and we had a few different kind of variations on what that could be. And then it was down to like, okay, well, one, is Phil going to be on board with this? Is he going to want to sit down and draw, the Rancor 100 times or whatever it's going to be? And then, pardon me, then it became in talking, it turned into like, well, now he's going to draw 100 different Rancors, all different stuff from the scene, different styles. Some are a little more cartoony, some are a little more detailed, some have, you could see even right there, there's, face shots, there's the one with his foot with Luke and the bone, there's one with the Gamorrean, the close up on the mouth. I love the one where the door is hit him and Luke is standing in front of it. So he just every one of those sketches is pure Phil. We had no input other than we told him the size to make it, and the number of them to make, and then he just said one day called up, said, "Okay, they're done," and we're like, "Oh gosh, what are we getting?" Like we had no idea what to expect, and
That
they
is so
turned
cool.
out just so much cooler than we thought.
You know which one? You know which one my favorite is? That
What's
one.
that?
That one.
Gee, I wonder why. Well, it's so funny because somebody was saying like, "Oh, are you worried if people are gonna see someone else's and get jealous or whatever?" And I'm like, I'm sure there's gonna be some of that, but the fact that they're all different and
Mhm.
unique, it's kind of, I feel like there's something to like you're being chosen by this one when you get it.
That's
You
right.
know, it's
Yeah.
a random thing. We're not like there's no choosing. This is all like we're literally just gonna put the numbers on them. The pictures will go in randomly, and then we pair up the numbered plaques
Yeah.
with the number when someone ordered, and like what you get, you're meant to have,
Yeah.
and no matter what, it's unique, and like that to me is just like I would never complain. Like this is a one of a kind Phil Tippett drawing, and if it's a weird one, even better. Like
How about this, Tom? Let's establish it right now.
yeah.
This is a collection war like exclusive thing. You decide today if you're gonna pick them from the top down or
Oh
from the
yeah,
top or from the bottom up. That way, what if someone gets one that they don't like, they can be
right.
like, "Damn, Gabe and Michael on Collection Wars, they should have done it. They should have
Yeah,
did it
yeah.
the opposite way."
We're just gonna shuffle them. I'm not going down that road. I don't want to put you guys in harm's way like that.
Yeah.
I,
I
Yeah,
never I never knew that he did those for this. I thought they were like old sketches that you printed. You know what
all
I mean?
done. No, they're each one of these is the actual hand drawn sketch. It's not a copy. It's not a print. It
That's
is
awesome.
hand drawn for us for this,
Look at
literally
that.
for you. And they're a mix of there's pencil, there's some marker like you see on these where he did some of the backgrounds in. And they just vary so wildly. It's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, there he is sketching up the man.
that's
Wearing
I mean,
sleeves. That's the unusual part about that picture. You never see Phil in sleeves. He always has the sleeveless shirts on. So
yeah.
I don't know. It must have been a cold day.
It just it there's something very like artistic about the I mean, because he kind of looks like Da Vinci almost like he has that Da Vinci look, right? Like and he's like
Totally.
sketching these things like I love it.
Yeah. No, he has the total Da Vinci vibe there. Yeah.
Right? He's like,
Uh, and then yeah, there's your favorite, the Ralph McQuarrie painting with
yeah.
the I always loved, it's supposed to be a Gomorian. It looks a little like Nilo Rota-Shimero's Klaatu sketches
Mm,
to me.
yeah.
Um, but it's Ralph's take on it, which clearly Ralph was copying the maquette.
Yeah.
This was he came in after the maquettes were made. And if you pair this up with a good 3/4 of ours, like you did, even
Well,
on the thumbnail for this, like you just showed, they line up perfectly.
well,
So
here, I want to let me since I mean I already had it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Let me show you guys.
What was so funny is when you sent that to me as the thumbnail, I didn't even notice it was ours at first. I thought you just sent me the painting.
Yeah. No, yeah. No, it's kind of crazy to see it, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Let me bring up the video really quick.
This is
And
an
then
exciting piece. Very exciting, man. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the weird thing is picture being us working on this thing for, over a year and not talking about it, you know, or doing the no, like when we knew Phil was working on those sketches, oh, it was all we could do not to tell people that was coming. Like, holy crap.
all right, I'm gonna show you guys this little montage that I did. Let me see if I can get oh no. Let me see if I can hold on. There it is. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to make it bigger, but
Yeah. No, that
all right.
works.
So
Yeah.
I found a couple of shots of the
It's
rink over
rare to
here.
see it in the archives. I
Right here,
love
look at what I did. Look at what I did here.
oh
Boom.
man.
That's badass.
And that's the maquette, and that's the
I
thing. And
guess
then
we did all right. Holy
yeah.
crap.
And I did that same thing with the Ralph McQuarrie. Check this out. I try to match it
You
right
try to get the
on.
angle right?
The angle was tough, but
Yeah.
and
Well, and
there it is.
Ralph also, I'm sure, took some liberties. Oh, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Good
No,
job, dude. That's
Wow.
awesome, Gabe.
Yeah. You know what's funny too? The paint is it captures differently based on different cameras, different lighting. Like I
mhm.
noticed even in your original side by side, ours looks a little browner there, but if you got ours on a white backdrop with
That-
either a flash or a softbox, all of the purples start popping out and the spotting shows up differently. Um,
So
it's
it's
one of
funny.
the
It's funny that you mentioned that because as I was doing the video, because I'm in San Francisco right now,
yeah.
I I hit up our buddy with over at Jabba's, was it
Oh,
Jabba's
Mighty
Collectible,
Jabba.
Mighty Jabba's Collectible, because he took some pictures of it against a white backdrop, and you could
Yeah.
definitely see the colors a little bit more. And I asked him, I was like, hey, can I borrow some of your pictures because I'm not at home. If I
Uh-huh.
was at home, I would do it on a
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah.
But I was like, I'm up here editing this video,
Yeah.
and he was like, yeah, for sure. But I think the problem is that once I used his picture didn't like the
Yeah, he
angle,
didn't have the angle
yeah,
right.
it
His
didn't
he had
have
the
it right.
wider
I was
lens.
just like, yeah, I'll try to. I'd rather get the angle than the color. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. The purples and the greens hard to photograph, right?
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
think you
even
mentioned
if
that
you
in your live, right? That you
yeah. Well, if you
search
go back
on
to the picture you had in the archives, it just looks brown and soft. Like it doesn't like you had that one shot, kind of the side view where it's in the archives.
yeah, I'm
Um,
looking.
and if you look at that, you don't see any of the purples.
Yeah.
And when I first went at this thing, my impression of it was like, oh, okay, this is brown. It's painted just like the real one. Cause all the
Mhm.
vintage pictures I saw of it, it just looks brown.
Yes.
Um, and it wasn't until we, pulled it out to scan it and take our photos and do our color matches and all the stuff we do and research it for hours, where you go like, holy crap, like there's all
Yeah.
this color on this thing and so many, yeah, like that just looks brown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's
It almost looks
insane
dust
how
it almost
different
looks
this thing
dusty,
photographs.
right? Like, that's I was gonna ask you that, Tom.
Yeah,
When I mean, obviously, these are from the '90s, like, these pictures that I
yeah.
grabbed from the internet are from the '90s, but, I mean, are they pretty, like, dust-free? Like, or when you get them, do
Um,
you have to, like, sit there and
s-
kinda
some of them are a little dusty,
yeah.
but for the most part, they're pretty. They're in great shape,
Mhm.
um, because most of them are Sculpey.
Mm.
So they're a hardened clay, polymer clay. So it's not like they're at risk of breakage. Like I think the Rancor, if I remember right, it's got a broken finger, but luckily Phil had wire running through the fingers, which you would
Mhm.
do to armature a sculpture anyway.
Yeah.
So it didn't like break off and get lost.
Mhm.
But there could be breakage from someone bumping into them, but they're not going to crumble away the way like a foam latex piece or a
Mm.
polyfoam piece would or something like that. So yeah, I would love to get in there with a soft makeup brush and pull some more dust out of some of them, but
Yeah.
that's not our job. And there's limits on how much we're able to do, but maybe
Right.
someday we'll go in and clean them up some more. But that's definitely something that we have to take into account, where it's like, oh, okay, how does that coloring look versus how it would look if it was a little less dusty,
Yeah. No,
um,
absolutely.
yeah,
Um, I mean, again, you guys always do such a great job at paying. I mean, hats off to your team and
thanks.
everyone doing. Especially like once I got them together and started comparing them side by side. I mean, you forget how many layers there are and how
Yeah.
many colors that go into it. Even just the nails, right? Because I think that's one of the things I was gonna point out. Like the differences is that
Oh yeah,
on the big one has like the more bone colored nails.
with the darker wash and all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very realistic bone looking.
yeah,
And then obviously on this one, it has black nails,
yeah.
but it's just kind of interesting to
And they're not just black though, because we do them black and then we throw a brown tone over the black randomly, just so they're not jet black, and we put a little satin on them as well, just so they feel more like nails. But and I think that's on the original. It's tough. That's where the dust sometimes gets you,
Mhm.
where it's like, okay, what was the finish of this? Was
Yeah.
this, is this shiny but dusty? Is this matte? Um, but yeah, on the nails, and it's really hard to photograph, but there's a very light layer of brown
Yeah.
over top randomly just to break them up. which is totally the way Phil does the stuff too. It's like he's famously puts umber on everything.
Oh,
So
Henry. Is
Tom,
it
how,
the
how, how
raw?
many maquettes are there, Tom, out there anyways?
the originals in the archives,
Yeah.
there's about 90. And
Okay.
that includes a handful from Empire. There's there's like a Wampa study from the special edition Empire. There's a Joe Yauza special edition, kind of a pretty big one as well. There's a very early Tauntaun. Phil says it was actually the first thing he did that was like the full body before he did the one we replicated. That's still at the archives. And then the 4 little Tauntaun busts. But then just about everything else is, at least in that area, is all Return of the Jedi creature maquettes, things that became, Admiral Akbar, Pruneface, the starfish guy on the Rebel side, and then the, all of the Jabba the Hutt aliens and stuff on the other side. And then, I mean, there's probably 30 or 40 that never even got used. There might even be more than that. I don't know the exact ratio. I'd have to look at that, like how many made it to the movie and how many didn't. But and some of those are just as cool, if not cooler.
Yeah.
Well,
And it makes sense because like
releasing a lot like monthly, I guess. So we can get
I mean, for next year, our plan is probably close to every other month.
That's awesome.
And in the downtime, we'll have some bigger stuff, we'll have some indie stuff, but we have enough that are already in the works that we'll do that with. That I think we can do that pace. It's also about how do we do with production and how the team does. That's a very big thing for me, is making sure we're staying on top of that stuff. For anybody that ordered our Nurhachi urns, those are actually the first 70 or so are now in paint, and those will start shipping pretty soon. Those are going to continue shipping for a few months. Nurhachi, we knew was running slow, so we pulled the grails up ahead, and they've actually just passed, I think, 400 on the grail production.
Wow.
So they're closing in on wrapping up the grails, which has been great. They've done the paint on those is super consistent. They've been really, really good. I love what the team's doing on them. But
from the order date to the shipping date, it's been really good on these maquettes, man.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's, like Droopy, I had them painting those before they were even up for sale. And we're going to try and do so, anybody who paid in full, your Droopy McCool already shipped. You probably got them already. And then, we've got people on payment plans. The next maquette we're doing after the Rancor should also be an immediate ship, or close to it. The Rancor will be one that ships over time, well into, late 2024. These are going to be done in batches of like 15 or 20 at a time. They'll probably go out, 10 or 12 a week or something like that. But they'll get the extra love and care they need, and they're going to be just as cool. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love your picks, Gabe.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna bring up, because we were talking about the paint. I think one of my favorite things, and one of the on both of them, on the large one and the big one, is this whole lobster tail, back part of it. It just, something about it, just like, this is what really gives it, like, 'cause I don't know, something about the Rancor,
otherworldly thing about it.
It's funny. It's because it's obviously a crazy, weird monster, but somehow the tail is what makes it, for me, like, extra weird, right? Like,
because you're going from like wrinkly skin creature stuff, typical creature stuff, right? Like, this is, it's an atypical looking creature, but it's like the skin tone of it, the texture of it. Okay, brown wrinkly monster, great. But then he's got horns on him, and then he's got that shoulder armor and the plating, and then you get to this chitinous tail on the back that Phil came up with, this sort of, yellow lobster tail on the maquette. It's very yellow. On the final, it's brown turning into bone at the bottom. It's a weird move, but it is so Rancor. And then, you look at the Kenner toy, which, by the way, also is clearly based on the maquette. You can tell by the way the teeth are and the number and shape of the teeth. It's totally the maquette. And That I only put together like this year. It was like when we started really
Oh,
working
the
on this, I'm like,
hand.
wait a minute,
Yeah,
like
Gabe,
the
you were just
slightly
telling me about
smaller
this.
face.
Yeah. No, yeah. Let me see if I could. Let me see if I could bring up the Kenner
Yeah, and
Wrangler.
Yeah,
that's a good angle for the Kenner toy too, because I think that's the angle on the box.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it really is. It's like, oh, you know what? Kenner definitely was using this as their reference, which makes sense, right? They were working on it before the movie was finished. Phil didn't even make the puppet until the movie was, almost in theaters. It was a very, very late edition. That was one of the things that they, were stuck on and they couldn't get to.
Yeah.
So of course they would have sent them pictures of the maquette and just been like, yeah, it looks like this,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think we had who was it, Michael, that we had on the show? It was Kim, right? The gentleman that took all the photographs.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. The kid, golly,
And that's something that he was telling us. Right? No, it wasn't Kim. It was oh my, it was the guy who created the X-wing and all the Kenner stuff. Remember the original?
Oh crap. I've lost his name.
It's
Shoot.
Tom. Is it Tom?
Swearingen?
Tom
Jim
Swearingen.
Swearingen.
Swearingen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Is it Jim Swearingen or
Jim
Tom Swearingen?
Swearinger.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jim Swearinger. And he was telling us that a lot of the time Kenner was working with just whatever reference before the movie came out,
Oh
obviously.
yeah.
They were just working with the references that they had, right? Let me
Yeah.
bring up I found the rain core.
yeah. That was a great. Yeah, Swearingen had a really good story about how he went over there to before the film was even aired, and so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And he got to
Yeah.
watch it. Yeah,
It's like the leg pose is the same.
Mhm.
The head is that smaller head with the fewer teeth, and they're
Yeah.
kind of more mounted really right into the jaw and not as separate.
Yeah.
It's totally the maquette.
And it's
yeah.
probably
That's
around the
the
same
original
size,
one.
right,
They're
Tom?
very close in size. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't brought
I have one
my
of them.
Kenner Rancor to work yet to put it next to a maquette. I need to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That'd just be a fun
fun
picture to put
picture.
up on like the Regal Robot fan Facebook group.
Group.
agree. That'd be cool.
By the way, anybody watching, if you're not already in the Regal Robot fans and collectors showcase Facebook group, please go join us. It's a great place. Just click join and someone will let you in. And we post a lot of behind the scenes studio shots of like people working on stuff and things and early sneak peeks.
And I forgot to link it, but I'll link it right after this in the
Awesome.
description.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, Tom, you guys did an amazing job. And I mean, here you could really see the purple a little bit
Yeah.
better in the greens, right?
And like the spotting on his shoulder, it starts
Yeah.
to kind of blend together a little bit in pictures, but like, those are not just like on his left shoulder there. You can really start to see some of the spots. It's not just like,
Yes, yeah,
brown airbrush on him.
yeah,
It's these individual blobs and breakup and things like that. There's
yeah,
reddish browns, there's brick colors, there's orangey browns, there's just kind of greeny browns, there's blacks.
yeah.
There's a lot going on with his
Yeah.
paint.
Tom, I was going to ask you too, because I think you brought it up. I don't know if you're on another podcast. I remember you bringing it up, something about the fingerprints.
Oh gosh.
As you guys have been scanning these, have you like found some like
Oh
clear,
yeah. I mean,
fingerprints on them? Like,
Absolutely. They're almost impossible to get to reproduce
yeah,
because they're barely
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Sometimes you can try and rebuild them a bit digitally and then hope that you can get them in output and then hope they get captured in the mold and then hope they make it through the casting. Usually by that point, you've lost just enough detail to lose
yeah,
them, but they're on more than a few of them.
yeah.
We have either maintained or rebuilt a fingerprint that was on the sculpt.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, that might just be a seam
like a little,
cleanup or a little roughness in the sculpt. The other thing is these things are full of sculpt roughness too.
yeah,
There's the back of 9 num is great for that. It's got this great rough clay texture like you would take like if you just put the blobs on and spatulate across it and you get this sort of like
yeah.
slate look to it.
Let me bring it up.
And that's something I really love. They are impressionistic. They're almost like the back of 9 num looks like you would sculpt a bronze, you
Yeah,
know, and we always try and keep that. We always try and like, because it would be real easy for us to like do the scan and then clean that up and make it
Yeah.
look good. And it's like, no, we don't want to make it look better than the real thing. If there are flaws, we want to try and include them.
Yeah.
And if there are fingerprints, yeah, we've tried. There's the ones that I think just barely come through might be on the jars from the Jabba the Hutt one that we did. That was built up from photos. That was really sculpted, like photogrammetry, where you take photographs from many different angles and try and recreate the sculpt that way. So we had to intentionally put them on there because the real one definitely has that. But I don't know how well they came through. I saw somebody posted a picture on his on the group, and it looked like you could see him. But we're trying. Oh, hey, there you go.
I'm trying to bring up the 9.
That's awesome.
Oh, Michael. Oh, you went. Do you remember what month? What month did 9 release?
June,
like
maybe.
June. Okay.
He would be on the same page as the current stuff, the Rancor. If you scroll down, the sold out stuff is on the bottom of that page.
Well, I was trying to. I was trying to look for my pictures of
okay.
it because I got some really high quality, like just really, a really nice clean shot of the back.
Gotcha. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there you go. Michael, yeah, there you go.
He's like, yeah, you guys are sitting here talking. I already got it.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, all that rough clay look. Like, I love that.
Like I could right here. This is the one that, and that's why I love it. That almost looks like it would be a fingerprint right there.
It could be.
Like,
it could be. I'd have to look back at our scan to see if that's what we were picking up on that. But that totally is. That's the sort of thing you see a lot of. It's usually a thumb.
It makes sense,
and it's just
right?
like you're smooshing the clay around and you just give it a go. There's also, we get a lot of rake marks too. Not on this one. Those are more like that's like an inverted. It's like a cup shaped tool, like that's like the back of one of those that you would do, or it could even be a wood tool, but this being sculpty, it was probably metal. But yeah, the sort of smeary clay along the bottom and along the right, like that's something I love to see on these things, and there's a ton of them with that, and we always try and keep that. I'm actually thinking that one of the other ones I'm thinking that has the most that present the most is another Dave Carson sculpt, and it's a sort of thing where like this other one, I don't want to give away what it is because it's something we're working on probably for next year, but it because it's sculpted with that texture, it would make a beautiful bronze, because when you do a bronze, it catches all those edges and the highlights and stuff like that, and it just, you look at it and like I look at sculpts like that and I'm like, that just wants to be a fine art piece, like that just wants to be a bronze.
Now, is that something, because I know early on, I remember being at Comic-Con, and talking about the Tarkin, but obviously, things get
he's literally on a shelf at the studio waiting for me to one day maybe finish that sculpt. I don't know.
But that's within your realm, right? I mean, that's within your license.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do, something either the half scale or full scale, or, if it came to these maquettes, generally, with stuff like this, we are doing things that are, replicas and trying to replicate in most cases the coloring and all of that stuff. But there, we were thinking there's maybe there's even a time where some of these make sense as little bronzes or something like that. Maybe there's some weirdos that make sense as clay color, or something where it's kind of like we did the Tauntaun busts, where they're that like clay color, but with a wash over it to pop the details. Yeah, that's a good group right there.
yeah. Little Jabba goons right there. I mean, that's the coolest part, right? And that's the cool part about I guess Return of the Jedi, because I mean, in reality, most of those maquettes, right? Probably 75% of them are from Jabba's palace scene, right?
Yeah. So I'm in agreement with the comments here, by the way, Michael. That display is beautiful.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
But it's 100.
Yes. Yeah, and what's really cool is people from all over literally they'll be able to come up here and they'll, this is a VIP seating area, with, all the tables that have the dark side logo and stuff.
Very nice. Very
nice. Obviously, that one here is open still because we're waiting for some more maquettes to come in.
Now,
Nice.
And
Well,
then
we got them.
one over there.
now hear me out, Michael.
I'm
Because
listening.
people are gonna be eating there. How about a Pizza the Hut maquette right there, right
Oh
next
my
to Jabba
God.
the Hut? You need
I
pizza.
know, right?
Like, he
Exactly.
still hasn't watched Spaceballs. He
Oh
refuses
no,
What?
to watch Spaceballs.
no,
Come
no, no.
on.
Hey,
Refuses.
so Tom, so to date, right now,
Yeah.
to the released maquettes,
Yeah.
which one is your favorite so far?
Ooh. Hold on. I got to call up the website to put them in front of me.
Yeah,
Um,
I
Gotta
don't
make
think.
sure I don't say one that hasn't been released.
Oh yeah,
So
Here,
let's see here.
I'm bringing
I will say, Gabe's picture really brings this up to my mind because I get this feeling when I look at my display case behind me at the shop all the time
yeah.
that they are more than the sum of their parts. As a collection, it is even more special than each individual one is. Like, we try and make each individual release as special as we can. We involve
For
the
sure.
artists, whatever the signatures, but like seeing them together and the diversity of the lineup, it's
Mhm.
really, really something. Seeing those all together like that. Let's see, who's my favorite? Oh gosh. The Jabba the Hutt is pretty special, even
Yeah.
not being, the a direct scan. That's one of those ones that was so prominently featured in those old things. But I love the Rancor. I love Yak Face. He's so goofy.
Yeah, Weequay's badass too.
I was just gonna say, but if I had to pick one, it's probably Weequay. And
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
say
give you that.
this. Having just the last time we were at the archives, we pulled out a lot of these for some additional color matching and stuff, and I got to get up close with Weequay again for the first time since we did that release.
Mm.
And if someone just handed it to me and told me like, hey, you got to put this in a box, it's one they just finished up in the back, I'd believe them. Like, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or the crew on the back too hard, but the coloration and the paint work and the obviously the digital work on it and the sculpt is great, but the finish work on this is so close to the real thing. It's uncanny. It's really, really cool.
Tom, I need you to ship the next gremlin that you get to the dark side.
To the pizza place. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Tamiya, an actual Tamiya built car right there.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
I've gotten to see the original of that over at Bob Burns's place many, many times.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Golly, I would have loved to have been able to go there.
Oh man, the first movie Gremlins stuff too is just so good. It's like I love all the Rick Baker stuff. For the second movie, I love the weird characterizations they added to all of the Gremlins. Like, they're all unique sculpts. They're really over the top caricatures and stuff. They're so fun. But there's a grunginess to the first movie stuff that has a really cool vibe to it, and it's always special when we get something first movie in.
We need to bring up what Yin's
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me hold on. Let's finish up really quick. Kind of just talking.
Oh
about
yeah. We keep not talking about our very important release. I'm a terrible salesperson.
Jay,
it's been a while,
Yeah.
No,
So yes,
really quick.
Signature Edition, Legacy Edition. So the Signature Edition is obviously like our standard. We've got Phil signing the plaques for each of them. The maquettes are all hand painted, all made in the USA. They look great with the big Rancor. If you have that, make sure you get it. And
my video.
150 of these, which is kind of average. That's the edition size we did for 9 Numb. Most of the others are like in the 100 to 125 kind of range. Droopy, we did 200 because we figured so many people have Max Rebo. We better have some extra Droopies out there for when they realize, like, oh crap, I better get this. And then the Legacy Edition, 100 pieces only. From what I would say, and every single one of them, you get a signed plaque by Phil. It's in the matted frame. It comes with, the vintage photo of Phil with the maquette, and a one of a kind hand drawn, actual paper hand drawn sketch that Phil made. Every one of them is unique. Just Phil made it for you. I mean,
Man,
it's crazy.
And let me
that's
and let me
crazy.
and let me bring something up really quick because I got a couple buddies always joke around with me, and they say I'm like one of those like, door to door, religious. Like, do you have
Oh
a do
gosh, yeah, yeah.
you have a, do you have a second to talk about? They always say that I'm always like, excuse me, sir, do you have a second to talk about the Regal Robot payment plan? Because that's the funniest thing because again, I really do think it's a lot
Yeah.
of people that let's just say like something like this, right? That's
That's a
$1,700.
big chunk of money.
It's
Sure.
a big
It's a
chunk of
very
money.
special thing.
Yeah.
It is the best price we could possibly offer it. But for anybody that can't pay that much upfront, yeah, and most of the maquettes we do with a 6 month plan. This one we actually made an up to 12-month plan. You can set it to the length you want.
Yeah.
And, at 12 months, like if you were to click learn more there right now, Gabe, so let's say you were just coming to this website and you click that, it tells you, oh, it's 300 and change up front. And that's like $100 a month. Well, that's not so bad. Oh,
Yeah.
you could even change your down
It's,
payment if you want.
it's
This is great. You should go door to door with this stuff, Gabe. Look at that. Your payment's like barely even
500, and then
hundred
it's only
bucks.
$100,
So
and you get it.
so yeah, if anybody's ever on the website and they wonder what something's going to cost, that's how you can do it. And it, I'm so glad that we got connected with Partially and we're able to offer this. It has really opened up like who can participate and be a part of what we're doing. And to me, that's what it's all about. It's not. It's like how many people can we get on board with us? This is something that is important to us, and we're like super passionate about it, and we love it, and we're like, we want to get more people, like, I mean, anybody watching, share it with your friends. It's like, tell folks about us, because as licensees go, we're still young, and we're still super small, and it's a place where, maybe you get something from some other licensee, and they're a huge company, and they're getting stuff made overseas in factories, and they're getting things by the thousands. And it's like with us, you're, generally speaking, people are placing an order are going to Katie or Ross,
Yeah.
and they're within like 10 feet of me at the studio, because there's really only a handful of us up front, and then there's a handful in the back making stuff. And, maybe there's like 20 of us in the studio on a busy day.
supporting
It's a
supporting
tiny company, and,
and
help us spread the
supporting
word.
U.S.
Be an
made.
evangelical, like Gabe is for us.
Well, no, I mean, look, and it's you guys are in house, right? And I mean that means a lot to people out there, right? Like you're a U.S. company making them here. You're paying your employees here in the United States.
Yep.
All that takes has to
And
be
fully
considered.
licensed. We're paying Disney what they need. We have all the requirements that come along with that, and all the extra stuff that comes along with doing things above board and doing it the right way. And we do have some other U.S. partners that we work with when we have overflow. We have a couple of people that we've been working with for years and years now that will do additional casting for us and things like that. But yeah, look at it. Look at that.
Look,
You get a droopy for $50 a month. How could you not go buy a droopy right now at that price? Like it'd be dumb not to get that.
I'm just look. Here's the thing. Like I do the videos, and I'm on social media, telling people, hey, like listen to me. Like I think I've been collecting long enough. I think all of us, right? Like we've been collecting long enough to know the trends and know kind of how these things shift. And
Yeah.
what I'm telling everyone is that what once that droopy sells out, you got to realize there was more maxes than there
Yeah.
were droopies.
A lot
There's
more.
gonna there's gonna get a point where you're gonna release size noodles, and
Yep.
everyone that has Max Rebo is gonna be like, I need to get size noodles, and then they're gonna go back and be like, oh crap, who's selling a droopy?
Right.
Who's
I slept on droopy. Oh no. Yeah.
aftermarket,
Yeah.
right?
And
I mean,
that's where we came up with the number for him. And look, I am never upset when I have something on the website for people to buy. Like some people are like, oh, it's like, oh, that's been up for 2 weeks. Don't you want that to sell out? Or oh, that's been around for a while. The Tauntaun maquette we did, we sold 250 pieces of those over about 3 years. It's not always that it has to sell out immediately.
Mm-hmm.
However, when they're gone, they're gone. And some of the stuff does sell out immediately. Some of the stuff we've had sell out in minutes. And frankly, more of it sells out quickly than doesn't.
Yeah.
And when it comes to this Rancor, I think so. It's always so hard to guess where these things are going to go. But just judging by the reaction to the Legacy Edition, I would be very surprised if that stays around long. And if you were to tell me, oh, that's going to last 2 days, I would say okay. And if you were to say that's going to last 10 minutes, I would also say, okay, could be. Like it could be any of that. I don't see it lasting more than a couple of days. It's just everybody that I've been talking to, everybody that we've mentioned about, has jumped on like the idea of that. Like they've and especially when it's something where it's new like that, right? Like this was a totally different way to do this, and it's super premium. It's very high end price wise and stuff. We get that, and it's but it's super unique. It's very very special, we think, and so to hear everybody we mention it to go, oh man, that's the one I'm going for. Like that's really good to hear. And it makes us feel
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, we did the right thing here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say if you want the Legacy Edition, you're going to want to be on at 12 exactly Eastern on Tuesday 11:14 and getting your order in. If you want the Signature Edition, I would also get on early. The last Rancor we did sold out very fast. I don't know. It's going to be a really fun day on Tuesday just to see where this goes.
Yeah.
I should be taking bets on the group. Like whoever gets closest to the sellout date gets a prize or something.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing, I mean, I know you were talking about it on your live, and I think it would be a smart thing to do later down the line. And I know you said it was maybe more of a group effort that can happen. That could also be fun. Is to try to do like some type of collaboration, or trying to get all of those sketches in one place so
Oh
everyone
yeah.
could see all of them, because that would
Yeah.
be really cool to see, like every
It
single
would
one.
be really neat. Yeah. And I mean, I know it's neat because I've seen them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once those start shipping, we're going to see everybody sharing them because it's beyond just like, oh, let me share this picture of this sculpture or statue that I got that 20 other people have already shared a picture of. Now it's like, let me share a picture of this sketch that only I got. And, it's a really good reason for people to share it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing those posts and seeing people excited about what they
That's
got
good.
and showing it off.
No.
That's awesome.
It's going to be
Um,
fun.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So Tuesday, guys, 12 p.m.
That's right.
Eastern.
12 p.m. Eastern.
Robot.
Go, crash our website.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So now I wanted to kind of bring it back to Jens, because I know like that beautiful background that Michael is sitting in front of.
Yeah.
Jens, I mean, he's such a dedicated artist. I mean, look at he did that for
Yeah.
Michael for his
The
restaurant.
diorama stuff is so fun.
The 6 scale stuff he does is just so beautiful. And I know he recently reached out to you because he works with a fully, like, it's a licensed, like, German Star Wars magazine.
Yes.
And they did an article with you, right?
Yeah.
Bring that up.
Which I trust is, what we talked about. I don't know. It's in German. So
Yeah. I know, right?
like,
Here's the article.
just me and a tauntaun, no big
Yeah.
deal. That's actually, so that's, although it's the same lineage as the tauntauns we sell, it is actually the tauntaun we made for Book of Boba Fett and Mando when they went into Jabba's palace. That's one of the ones that hangs on the wall. So that was something we made for them and couldn't talk about while we were selling copies of it basically to people at home. So
Oh,
anybody
that's
who's getting one of our Tauntauns, you're actually getting lineage back to, it's the same molds as the one from Book of Boba Fett,
yeah,
and in the background. Yeah, and there's the Gerba that went with him.
yeah,
Such a big goofy beast, the
yeah.
Gerba. I love it.
Is there a concept maquette of this?
No, that was from A New Hope. It was
Oh,
one of the
okay.
beasts outside the cantina, and they had kept one of
Oh,
the heads, and
okay.
so they put that on the wall opposite the Tauntaun.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and then the dedicated Wookiee hunters here.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a crazy time. Like
Jeez.
let's make
Get all
50
the
Wookiee heads and a couple of life-size statues all at the same
yeah,
time.
jeez. That's insane. Now, something like that, Tom, like,
Yeah.
I mean, is it literally just that team? I mean, but that is your team, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
so
I mean, at the time that this was done, so the area where we shot this photo, behind it actually is now a doorway going to the unit behind us, which we took over in 2019, late 2019. This is probably early to mid 2019 that we made these. I guess mid 2019. And uh, this was done with probably two additional people that weren't there for the photos.
mm,
But I was there hands on with it. Maria and Sam, who are closest to me in the shot, are super hair people, and took the do really great Chewy work. And but some people in there, so like Pierre in the back row, he works on mostly fiberglass, so he worked on the bodies for the big Chewbaccas, but
mm,
didn't do anything on the heads.
mm,
Christine and Tracy to the far left were office. Ricky in the middle there, and Melissa both worked on these with Giovanna in the middle as well. So yeah, it was a big group effort, but it's not a huge group, and that's a lot of Wookiees to make with
yeah.
not that many people.
Now,
Yeah.
would this maybe be
These
Michael?
are after Michael's.
Okay.
Those are the next two after his, because both of those have the bowcaster.
Oh,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
actually have two of them in the shop right now, and a handful of heads. We had one head that was in stock and ready to go, because whenever we do a run of production, we usually make a few extras. And what ends up happening is, people chip away at our extras while we're working, unfortunately. So we finished them up, and it was like, all right, we have one extra, and we posted about it this week, and someone bought it immediately. So now we're already planning our next wave of Chewy heads. We usually do them like five or eight at a time.
Yeah, that's
Now. So
awesome.
beautiful piece as well.
yeah, that was Celebration when he stopped by. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
Jens is really good at reaching out to this community of ours, and has really helped put a lot of people on the map by doing these awesome editorials. And obviously,
yeah,
Tom, you're known out there, but he does a
yeah,
great job on the editorials. I mean, it's like, wow, I mean, it's cool how he puts the dots together. So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. No, we had a great chat, a good interview back and forth. It was a written interview, if I'm remembering right. And
Yep.
yeah.
like I said, I just hope that what it says in German is what we said in
Oh, I
English.
know, right? It's like, hey, but I can't read the damn thing. But it's
I
Right. Yeah.
know. I know.
Wait a minute. Just
Yeah.
run it through Google Translate, and it's just
oh,
He did. Yeah, he did one on Michael and myself, right? And that, yeah. I mean, we look at it and we're like, well, I'm sure it's what it
let's hope
I
so.
have no if an idea what it says, but damn, the photography, the book is thick.
Yeah.
Tom, did you ever get an actual book?
Yeah, he sent us a few. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, they're nice. And hey, what's up with that? You got like right in the front of the damn book too. It's like, yeah.
Listen, when you're around for a while, you get better placement. You got Rob in a shot there too with all the tauntauns. That's always fun.
Yeah.
That's how the studio looks right now. I think there's four of them, if I'm not mistaken, and if I recall, one of them is basically ready to go if someone wants it. So
No.
I remember that Dewback. That's when
oh yeah,
that's when I
so
met
fun.
you in person for the first time.
I'm dying to do something else Dewback. I'm like Dewback obsessed, and we've got that great scan of the head. I don't know what it'll be, but I would not be surprised if something else Dewback makes its way into what we're doing.
Richard knocked that one out, right?
What was that?
Did Richard knock that one out? That
Yeah,
two back?
so that was a combination of Richard and some 3D work. So I did the sketch. Rich came up with the idea. I came up with the design because we went back and forth with a bunch of things with both him and me and Lucasfilm, and then he did the build. The head is 3D milled in styrofoam, but then he had to go in and refine everything because it was a rough mill. And then the rest of it, he hand sculpted the tail and the rocks and everything. It was such a fun thing. It's look, who else is ever doing that other than
No.
us? You
The,
know?
hey, the worst thing that Richard could ever say to me for sure is, "Hey, you know what would be cool?" And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh shit,"
that's it.
and
No,
it's like, "All right, dude,"
that's literally on our website since like 2016. Like that was like the Regal Robot motto. That's how, like when we started, that's how the dewback happened.
Yeah,
It's like, it'd be cool if we made a dewback into a sofa. And I was like, well,
yeah.
now I know what we're doing. But the worst thing with him is when he says that at the end of a project. Like
Oh,
we've done stuff where
oh,
we've
dude.
just put in like 2 months worth of work. And then he
Yeah,
goes, oh, it'd be cool. And I'm like, don't say it.
yeah.
No, like, and then he says it, and I'm like, damn it! Now we
I
have to
know.
undo 2 weeks worth of work and do it because it's
I know.
cool.
God dang, man, I know exactly
He's a
what you're talking
genius.
about.
One of my favorite people. We've been
Yeah,
working together for 20 years now. Jeez.
yeah. He talks very highly of you. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I
yeah,
cannot speak highly enough about his work.
yeah.
And
He's a good
and
dude.
obviously his fingerprints are all over Regal Robot stuff.
Yeah,
Not literally, but figuratively in this case.
exactly.
Well, very cool. Well, Tom, before we don't want to take. I know because you're on the East Coast, and
Yeah, it's getting a
it's
little late.
that's the bedtime. We want to
Right.
respect that. But we want to pick your brain about there's been so many of these auctions going on
Mm,
in the recent months, right? And we're
yeah.
seeing they're getting kind of crazier and crazier. And you've been around
Whew,
for a while in that
yeah,
space in the
yeah,
screen use props, and I know a lot of uh, you know I think since 2020, a lot of collectors started kind of going up this chain, right? And they started
yeah.
going like, okay, well, they started with their, maybe their hot toys or their, even some of the
Right.
like the smaller scale toys. And then all of a sudden they discovered maybe the six
Yeah,
scale, and then maybe
production
the
made
quarter scale,
stuff,
and then
and
the
then crew
master
gifts.
replicas, and like,
Yeah,
right, yeah, and they started like discovering that, and then all of a sudden they, maybe they came across like something like my channel where they're like, oh my god, that's like the replicas, and it's like, no, 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 no. There's even a
yeah,
bigger world like above the replicas, and I think a lot of people are discovering that, and it's reflecting in these auctions that are
yeah,
insane. I mean, the prices are insane. So I wanted to ask you about that because just your experience, and when you see an auction come up, what
yeah.
are some of your first like thoughts? Is it like, hey team, we got to get ready because there's gonna be a big wave coming through?
Yeah, I mean, it is. So there's two things that happen. So one, as a collector, I was fortunate to get into collecting screen use stuff in the late 90s,
Right.
um, when the prices were not
No,
bad at all.
right.
Um,
Right. Right.
so my collection is mostly older stuff because of that. Um, and I also was very lucky to get to know folks that worked on movies, and sometimes that's an even better way to get things than auctions or through dealers or whatever. But um, you know, as time goes on, you start to look at the catalogs like this. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so you turn the page and you're like, don't be something I want. Don't be something I want. Don't be, oh, whew. Okay. And then you turn the next page, like, whew,
Yeah.
and so like Rob and I, when those catalogs come out, that's literally how we go through. I'm like, oh, I hope there's nothing I need because the prices are insane. And, it's not even like if there's something that you really, really want in there, you're going to have to either miss out because the prices are out of your reach now, or you're going to have to say, okay, what can I sell from the collection so that I can
Mhm.
get this or try to get it, and then you're
Yeah.
going to agonize over this ahead of the bidding, and then you go through the bidding, which is like thump, 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 thump. Like
Yeah.
it's a crazy crazy world. That said, the other thing we do is we go through the catalog and we say, okay, what's in here that we already worked on? And
Oh,
Christine usually is the one to do that. And so anytime the catalog comes out, there's an email or a message that goes out through like our social media people and Christine and me, where she's like, okay, we worked on this, and this, and so that when we're talking about the auction, we can talk more specifically, because it's like, oh, we know that piece, we saw that piece, we worked on it, or this is really cool, we know that's legit. Um, then there's also, Christine looks through it as, okay, what are people going to be asking me about? Because one of the services, we do this restoration work, we do display work, we do custom mannequins, all of that work. That's all through Tom Spina Designs, our other company. Again, if anybody only knows me from Regal, feel free, go to tomspinadesigns.com, search some of your favorite movies. We've worked on stuff from tons of them. And what happens is, ahead of the auction, we get people who call us up and say, look, I'm looking at lot this, and lot this, and I want to know what it would cost to do a mannequin for this one. I want restoration on this one, and how much would a display case be for that one? Hold on, my cat's trying to get out the door. Here you go, buddy.
No.
There you are. All right. So we get people coming in asking us basically to help them make an informed bid. And sometimes they'll want to, hire us on to do a full condition report on something, or to do, some sort of bigger proposal. But usually it's just an informal, like, give me a rough range so I know when I'm bidding. I've also got to think, okay, I've also, maybe I'll bid up to this amount, but I've got to factor, 7,500 to 15,000 for the work this is going to need after the fact, or whatever that happens to be.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when those auctions come out, it definitely it's a big thing. And then as soon as the auction ends, then it's like, okay, who's going to come out of the woodwork to us with what they just won? In particular, like, so Prop Store's auction is still going, right? They've still got another day. And we've already had somebody talking to us about a display case. We had somebody else looking for a custom mannequin for something, and somebody else who was looking for restoration on another piece. So this is what happens. We've got something from the Greg Jean auction in the shop right now that we're doing a little bit of conservation and then a display case for. So yeah, it's definitely. It's added the fact that so much has gone to auctions now has added a little more of a cycle to people reaching out, but only in terms of, like, it's crazier at that time. We still have, our baseline is still, we're very, very lucky to have great web presence and to have been doing this restoration work for so long, and to do all, like, the prop and display work and stuff, where we have a very steady stream of people coming to us every day looking for custom work. It's a small fraction have the budget to do what they need to do, but we have people coming to us, which is great, not to have to go hunt that stuff. But you can always tell when an auction's coming, because it's just like, oh, that inbox is very full this morning.
Yeah, I actually thought about you. I actually bid on the Greg Jean, Close Encounters alien map.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
But I was right under 10, and that freaking thing went for almost 40. There's no way. It's just like, and I get that was a really crazy auction.
It was. And 10 is a solid bid for that. Like 3 or 4 years ago, 10 probably wins you that piece. But yeah, from 2020 till now, it's so weird. Look, we've seen it with our stuff, and I might have mentioned this in our live stream. Like, if we did that Rancor prop replica, the puppet scale, and it was about $3,000 in 2019. I think that's when that came out, or 2020. If we were doing that now, and some of this is just hindsight, having done the run the first time and seeing what things really took time wise. But if we were doing that now, that's probably a $4,500 or a $5,000 piece, and if you put that in the context of, $4,500, $5,000, and then the $1,299 for the signature edition of the maquette, that's half the size, that's actually less than half the price. It's already less than half the price. Like, that's actually not far off from where it needs to be. But, the changes in costs have definitely hit us. And we can see that, and especially doing things in the States, it's more dramatic, I think, than maybe some people who do stuff overseas. But and I'm sure there's a much broader conversation about, income distribution to be had. But clearly, the better is doing even better, because
Right.
as you get into the screen use stuff, you start to see that the lower end stuff, the production made stuff, and maybe the stuff from smaller TV shows or whatever, cable things like that, are relatively stagnant to where they've been for the last few years. The middle has started to pick up, where you get pieces that maybe a few years ago would have gone for 1,000. Maybe they're going for a little more, but they're still hit or miss. But then as you get to the better things, as you get to the things that were like $10,000 pieces a few years ago, those are now going off the charts.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's still occasional ones that squeak through where you're just like, oh man, how did that get through for $5,000? Like randomly.
Listen,
But it really feels like there's so many more spikes of just, things that just go bonkers.
yeah, me and Gabe were talking about this. I picked up a Cylon, Joe Johnston concept Cylon from Battlestar Galactica, for $3,500.
That's outstanding for that.
Yeah.
And I remember, looking at the Batarangs in that auction from the 60s Batman show, which I loved growing up. Like that was,
still like for 70 grand or something, or
well, some of them, but there was one that went for like 3, but granted there were like 6 or 7 of them in the auction, but it's like stuff like that happens. You still get the random one where there's not, you always need 2 people to fight over something in an auction to make the price go up. And after 6 of them, there weren't 2 people left. So whoever got that one, or maybe it was I don't know where it wound up in the chain of bidding, but like one of them only went for a few $1,000s, and then the best of them went for 70 grand. I mean, it's insane. And I know there were different qualities and different things too, but like that's actually a pretty good deal at the end of the day.
I completely forgot about that auction going on this weekend, because that's the one that's got the black hole shit in there, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
That might already been this.
Michael's
today.
running off to go check auction catalogs now.
I know.
With that Maximilian, I
know. And the crazy thing is, like, so when because Michael's been collecting this stuff, like he's been on it, but when we started talking about this on Collection Wars, I remember one of the times, right, Michael? I think it was that one time I was like, "Hey, Michael, like, have you seen this auction?" And Michael's like, "Wait. What? Like, help me log in, like help me like sign up for that."
He had to help me. I didn't know how to do it.
Like, how do I do this?
And now he's hooked. Like he's
oh yeah. No, it's I mean the screen use stuff, look, if it's a ballpark you can play in, right? If it's a place you can visit and hang.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no more direct connection to the movie than something that was used in the production.
Right.
But I will say is if that's not a place where you can hang money wise, then might I recommend Regal Robot and their archives collection, where you get direct lineage back to the original pieces without the price of screen use props.
Well said, dude. Great job, Tom.
And what's funny is that I started getting into the screen use props around 2015, 2016. So I got a little pocket in there where it was affordable, well, relatively affordable. So I have a lot of screen use pieces, that I just collected from like the Hunger Games and a lot of Tarantino films and stuff like that. That now I'm like looking at it, I'm like, holy crap! Like, should I be putting this up for auction soon? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. There's always the chance that this is some kind of bubble, right? Like, so. It definitely seems like the last prop store auction, which was just going, seemed solid. The numbers weren't totally bananas, but they were very solid all the way through. And I'm sure at the end of this, it's going to be millions of dollars for the whole auction. But I don't know. Yeah, if it might be something where it is a good time to look at things to part with and see if you find someone who maybe wants it badly enough that then you can bring a few new cool replica pieces in or get something unique in a different way.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, like that 3PO, the 3PO had just finished off yesterday, right?
Yeah.
It was what, 800, I think in US dollars. It ended up
with
being
the VIG, it was 800 grand. Yeah.
800
like,
I mean,
okay.
I guarantee you, I've got one that I got, and it's very legit. I got it out of Europe several years back. I have the Don Post life size, And I'm telling you right now, there's no way that you would be able to tell that $800,000 one from my, I think it was
Right.
$6,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Except that one
I'm
has
telling
Anthony
you.
Daniels' DNA on the inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just blows me away. You know, same
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
my Studio X-Wings. I made this comment
Oh,
on the
yeah.
show this time. It's like, you know, almost $3 million for this X-Wing. I got maybe 7,500 in this one. Tell me which one came from the film. I'm getting
Right.
it. The majority aren't going to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But of course, it's that person knowing that spent almost $3 million.
Yeah. And look, there is, again, that direct connection. Like,
Yes.
that's what those people are after. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's a status thing. I'm sure there's some folks that are in it that are just purely in it because it's like collecting art. They want something that
Yes.
is a high priced collectible and that's it. But
Yes.
for most of the people buying that stuff, I'm always impressed with how many people collect screen use stuff that, pardon me, that aren't crazy wealthy people or crazy comma wealthy people. It depends if it's a comma or a hyphen. Sometimes it's both. But they're regular folks that instead of buying a spare car to tinker with, they're going to spend money on a prop from a movie they like.
Yeah.
You know what surprises me the most, because I'm in a lot of the prop groups.
Yeah.
I think we've had a conversation about this, but I'm surprised at some of them how little I mean, some put a lot of thought into the display, obviously, and you get people reaching out to you for displays, but I'm surprised of how many screen use collectors have stuff in just like random shelves and like just
Yeah.
like thrown up, and I'm just like,
Yeah, like
oh
the
my
kind of Home
god, like,
Depot shelves and kind of like,
yeah,
on the cement floor in the basement. Yeah. I, you know,
yeah,
one of the things I did when I got, when I first got my house, I mean, you guys have seen my display room and how I think about that stuff. It was important to me to make a clean, effective kind of space for this stuff that felt safe, for lack of a better word, and then populate it. And I had a bunch of stuff ahead of time, but for me, it's I that's the approach I take. Not everybody does. Not everybody. Maybe they have to make the choice. Like, do I invest in the house or do I invest in these props? And maybe the props make them happier, and that's fine. But
That's right.
you can definitely tell it's not all rich people.
yeah.
It's there are plenty of regular guys that and girls that are involved in this hobby, and
Yeah.
Well, we were
and
just
that's
talking
kind of
about
cool.
that last auction, right? The
Yeah.
Gene auction, like, I, I surprisingly, right? He was just a normal
Yeah.
guy. I mean, obviously he's in the
Yeah.
industry, but like,
Well,
he,
yeah.
I
And
mean,
he was Greg was far from a normal guy, but yeah, he
well,
definitely
I don't
had
mean,
the bug.
yeah,
But in terms of how he
well,
lived, yeah, he
right,
lived modestly, considering.
modest.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it's
There's a
I
hoarder.
think there's plenty of collectors like that, though. It's like,
Yes.
Yeah.
are you going to spend money fixing the windows, honey? Maybe, but look at this prop store catalog. Like, I can't
It,
resell those windows in 10 years for twice the price.
yeah. Well, Tom, I just recently went to there's an exhibition in LA, called it's like right on Hollywood. And I
Oh,
bet
yeah.
you guys probably worked on a lot of stuff from there. In
Was
fact,
that Rich Carell's collection?
yeah,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
immediately you brought up the Gremlins, and like that was the first thing that I saw, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I bet you guys. And then the Darth Vader, they had the touring Darth Vader suit, which I could have sworn I saw on your website, but
Yeah. That's
It's not the same one.
not the same one. Okay.
No. I mean, it might be because I think Prop Store sold another touring suit after the one we had. I think there was an Empire touring suit. We had the one that was in a New Hope touring suit that we did the
Oh, gotcha.
conservation
No,
on, custom mannequin, all of that. But yeah, we've done a handful of things for Rich. There's
yeah,
some other guys that have done more of his stuff. But
Empire. Yeah.
yep, Empire. So that's probably the touring suit that Prop Store sold fairly recently, unless it's an older one that came from a different source. Those touring suits, there's a number of them out there, but they're still as close as you're going to get to a screen used suit, because the screen used ones are either, what is it? Sansweet's got one and the Archives has the rest.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Crazy.
so awesome that he does that, where people can go and visit that stuff that would never be able to see. I think
Yep.
that's huge.
Yeah.
you know.
But
So that's
he's
kind of,
had that dream for years. I know at one point they were talking about putting it in Manhattan. Um, but eventually, you know, it seems like they finally found a place for it. And I'm really glad he did. It's you know, his collection's insane.
yeah.
Yeah,
Michael's
I'll tell you
that's
what, that's one
it's like,
thing
you know,
about,
no reason Michael just walking over there, no big deal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But what I was going to say though, on a serious note though, like creating these type of things
yeah,
is going to be for everybody to come and enjoy and see, and
yeah,
you know, and I think that's really cool when people like that, like the guy that gets that $3 million X-wing, is that, what are they, you know what I mean, are
yeah.
people going to get to
Is that
see
going to
that?
go somewhere people can see it? Does that stay
Yes,
in his apartment? Yeah, who knows?
yes,
Yep.
exactly.
yeah.
So
Does his wife kick him out and he has to live with it on the streets? You never know.
yes, exactly.
To that point, I mean, you know, that's a fair trade off, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
But
Well, good deal.
cool. Well, yeah, Tom. Again, we don't want to go past the 2 hours. You know, get you to
Thank
bed.
you for
You
that.
know.
And apologies, I'm a little under the weather too, so I probably should bail
Yeah,
and get some
yeah,
sleep.
No, no. So yeah,
Uh,
again, we appreciate you, you know, coming on and chatting with us, and it's always
Thank you.
fun, you know, talking about
Yeah,
collectibles and all of this stuff. So we
it's a
always.
really,
lot of fun, man. Anytime. I love to chat with you guys on air or
Yeah.
off.
Yes,
And
it's good.
thank you for helping share what we do with folks. That means a lot to us. And for just, you know, all the sort of appreciation for the lines that we're making in the archive collection as a whole, and just everything we're exploring, and you know, for all the encouragement on that. That means a lot to us, and it's nice to know that what we're doing resonates with folks. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Thank you for saying that, Tom, for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
Cool.
congrats on this what you're doing over there, brother.
Thank you very much. Same to you. It looks amazing over there.
Ah, thank
Um,
you.
you
Thank
know,
you.
I know it's a fake background, not like Gabe's real background, but
Yeah.
like still, you know, it's pretty good
Yeah.
effects on your side.
Well, a lot of the viewers that were there from the beginning when I announced on the show that, hey, we're gonna open up this this place where people can come and have some really good pizza and sub sandwiches, and you know, just relive the 80s, that nostalgia of the good old days, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all
Well,
about. So,
maybe I'll get down there someday and we could share
yeah,
a slice and well, we wouldn't share a slice. We'll
yeah,
share a pie.
I'll get a pizza from you there. You got
We'll
it.
be eating either side of the slice
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
Lady and the
Lady
Tramp,
in
you
the
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
Lady in the
exactly, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
well,
Max over your shoulder.
yeah, Max.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, cool, guys. Thank you so much again. For anybody watching, they want to find us, go to tomspinadesigns.com, regalrobot.com. Please join the Regal Robot fan group, Regal Robot Fan and Collector Showcase. We're going to have, by the way, we just thought of our 2,000 person, like we're just about 2,000 members. So our 2,000 member contest is going to be really, really, really special. Something you might even see like in a prop store auction kind of special. So you are not going to want to miss out on that.
Oh,
Join
very
the groups, and you know, just by being in the group, you'll have a chance to get in on it. So,
Very cool.
yeah, and anybody who is interested in that rancor we were talking about goes up on Tuesday, 11/14 at 12 noon Eastern. I would recommend not being late.
I'm on board.
Thank you.
Heck yeah. Go watch my videos I did on it and go see some close
Absolutely.
look. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
go.
Uh,
All right, guys.
To everybody in the chat on a Saturday night, once again, thank you guys so much for joining us, Tom. It's awesome having you on. It's always a pleasure having
Thank
you on the show.
always fun.
And love you, Gabe, dude. Look forward to next weekend's show.
Absolutely.